Welcome back to the Pulse. Now, students at Kadjebi-Asato SHS in the Oti region have been left stranded after fire tore through a boys' dormitory in the school this morning, destroying everything in its path. The blaze, which started around 9 a.m., consumed the entire room, including the roofing, and reduced all belongings to ashes. The Ghana National Fire Service, who arrived on the scene, could do little to help. The fire tender was out of commission, leaving students and school authorities helpless as they watched the dormitory burn. Right, let's get onto the phone lines right now and speak to our resident correspondent in the Oti region, Peter Senu, who is joining us for more. Peter, welcome to the program. What actually transpired on the ground?
Well, we all got the distress call this morning around 9:30 that one of the dormitories, in fact, a room in one of the dormitories was engulfed by fire. And so to come to the scene and see in fact, the roof had been completely destroyed and all belongings, as you've mentioned, to the students completely burnt to ashes. And the fire service, who also rushed to the scene to manage the situation, came empty-handed as their fire tender for about 3 years now have been out of commission. And so that was the dire situation they came to meet. And then they were virtually helpless and had to join students who were fetching water with buckets from a distance of about 5 minutes walk to where the fire was burning. And so they had to join the students to use buckets of water to douse the flame. And as we speak, the situation has been brought under control. And in fact, currently as we speak, the students, the girls in the school have been marshaled to, as it were, come and mop the place and keep the place tidy so that the boys can, as it were, pack their things in and have a place to sleep over the night. So that is the situation here. Everything I'm trying to show you where the situation, the thing had happened. Yeah, so this is the ground zero that we are talking about. This is the roof to the building, and completely everything in here has been raised. In fact, I was able to speak to the headmaster of the school, but a call just took him away from me. But what he told me was that, in fact, as a result of the fire, the heat, some of the students passed out during after the fire, and so they were rushed to the various health facilities in and around KJB. And so what he told me was that they are responding to treatment, and some of them are due to come back to campus at the school premises briefly. And so this is what is happening here. If you may, I can take you a bit outside to show you what is happening now, that the students are all here to show solidarity to their boys' counterparts. The girls are currently tidying up the place. And this is what is currently happening at Kadjebi-Asato Senior High School. Back to you in the studio.
Peter, how many students have been affected by this blaze, and how many of them passed out?
Right. Well, I can say more than 10 of them have been rushed to the various health facilities. A dozen of them, I should say, have been rushed to the various health facilities in and around KJB. I know that some of them have been rushed to Papasi, some in the KJB town, and others have been rushed to Jasikai. So to put the number, more than 10 of them have passed out as a result of the heat, and then they're running up and down just to keep the fire down.
And is it the entire boys' dormitory that has been razed by the fire, or portions of it?
Can you say again?
Is it the entire boys' dormitory that has been razed by the fire, or is just portion of it?
Oh, just a portion of it. Only one room of it that has been engulfed by the fire. And in fact, it took the authorities a lot of time to get to know, since school was in session. So a few of them who had moved around during break time that saw the fire and have to raise alarms. And so it took them a lot of time to get in there and even open the door to have access to the room to put the fire under control. So it isn't the entire building, but just one room in the boys' dormitory.
And the ones that are responding to treatment and the ones who were not affected, where do they sleep tonight?
If you may want to repeat, please.
Where do the rest of the students who were affected by this fire sleep tonight? Are they going to join the other boys in the dormitories that are left? Or perhaps some of them will have to make do and join the ladies?
Yes, exactly so. No, not really. In fact, there are a number of uncompleted projects in here. So what I'm told by the school authorities is that they are going to temporarily inform the school electrician to pull in some light. If you can see from the shot far away behind the tree, that is one of the dormitories that was supposed to have contained the numbers as a result of the free SHS program. But unfortunately, it has remained uncompleted till now. So that is what most students who have been affected by the fire are going to reside. So trapdoors, that is mosquito nets, are going to be provided for them immediately so that they can have some place to put their heads. And then while the school maybe fix the roofing to the bent portion of the dormitory for them so that they can come back and have their peace of mind to stay in school and study as well.
And Peter, have you been made aware what started this unfortunate fire?
Well, attempt to speak to the fire service has proved futile, except to say that they are conducting investigation and they will make their findings known as soon as possible.
Right, Peter Senu, thank you very much. That's our resident correspondent in the OT region. Away from the OT region, though, for nearly 70 years, Boko has been known only by tension and bloodshed. And today, real hope is finally breaking through. The Kusasi and Mamprisi are taking a decisive step toward reconciliation, aiming to rebuild a town devastated by violence. Their breakthrough, mediated by the Asantehene Otumfuo SHS II, marks a major turning point. But can this fragile peace hold? We will explore that shortly here on The Pulse. But first, the National Peace Council is expressing appreciation to the Asantehene Otumfuo SHS II for his role and urging both factions to lay down their arms and embrace lasting peace. Let's now take you to the Upper East region, where correspondent Albert Sori has been monitoring developments there for us. Albert, how is Boko responding to this peace deal?
Yes, so in the last 24 hours, in anticipation of what many thought was going to be a public announcement by the Otumfuo.
Albert, can you kindly speak up? I can barely hear you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Better now.
Okay, so I was saying that in the last, before the last 24 hours,
okay.
Hello?
Please go ahead.
So many people were anticipating that the announcement was going to be made public. The outcome of the mediation by the Otumfuo was going to be announced publicly yesterday. And so in anticipation of this, there were some fears that depending on the outcome of the mediation, there could be some sort of disturbances. And so if you spoke to residents of Boko, a lot of them were worried, of what could potentially happen. Also, the security agencies were taking measures to ensure that in case of any eventuality, they'll be able to deal with it. And so what we are learning is that many entry points into the Boko township where, security posts were erected on the roads entering into Boko, just in case of any eventuality. But fortunately, that there weren't any disturbances after the Otumfuo decided that he was going to present the report of his mediation to the president. And so yesterday, throughout the night, contrary to what many feared that there could be gunshots and some disturbances, it was very quiet throughout the day yesterday. Today, the situation has been the same. It's been very calm. What we also know is that the leaders from both factions are still in Kumasi after the mediation talks yesterday. They haven't returned to Boko yet. And so, their people are just waiting for their arrival to hear from them, what they have been able to pick up just maybe before the outcome of that mediation is presented to the president and hopefully made public eventually.
Albert, sorry, thank you very much. That's our resident correspondent in the Upper East region. Let's now bring in the parties in this conflict. And we've been joined by Cletus Avoka, who is the spokesperson for the Kusasi delegation, and Dr. Isa Imora, who is the spokesperson for the Mamprusi delegation as well. They're both joining us via the telephone lines after decades of mistrust and violence. What convinced your factions to finally agree to this peace deal? Let me start with you, Cletus.
It's recalled that in 2021, the Boko conflict re-emerged, escalated, and then culminating in the enslavement of the rival chief, the Boko Mamprusi chief by the Nigeri, the overlord of Mampugu, in February 2023. Then the government of the day, then President Akufo-Addo administration, declared the act of Nigeria as an illegal act, and then got a court order to arrest Theodore Abakre, whom the Nigeria team. Then the following year, 2024, last year, when Abakre won and accused that his arrest warrant was wrongly procured from a different court, from the wrong court. Then Abakre went to Boku. Then President Akufo-Addo chaired a National Security Council meeting, and then they declared that Abakre would be a wanted man because it's a security risk in Boku. So the violence escalated, and then the government of the MPP decided to prevail upon the Otumfo to meet the two factions and then mediate and see have a lasting solution. So our meeting with the Otumfo has been since 2024, and when President John Mahama took over in January 2025, he continued with the Otumfo process of mediation. So we've been there a number of times last year, and then this year about 5 times now. And yesterday was a climax, more or less. Climax in the sense that all along, the mediation has been one faction come and engage Otumfo in the morning, the other faction, the Mamprusi faction in the morning, the Kusasi faction in the afternoon, or vice versa. We have never met face to face since Otumfo started the mediation. But yesterday, Otumfo used his good officers to say that, well, I want the two parties to come and meet face to face. And each of them will give me a limited time to address me as to how we can have a peace process. That was the crux of the meeting yesterday that we had. Unfortunately, the statement that came out thought that Otumfo was going to make the declaration yesterday of his mediation, but that wasn't the case. But Otumfo is Royal Majesty, realizing that there are too much in the area and conflict, has decided that within a week or two after yesterday's encounter, he will engage His Excellency President John Mahama, who has asked him to continue the mediation, to present what to him. So we are confident that in the next week or two, not later than that, Otumfo will present the report to President Mahama in the presence of the two factions, the Kusasi and the Mamprusi. And then we'll get through what the findings of mediation would be. But suffice it to say that when we were doing our presentation yesterday, it was clear the Mamprusis have been talking about ancient history. They still have been talking about 13th century, 14th century. They still have been talking about Nabiwa and the rest of them. But we go beyond that. The position of the law is that if a tradition, a custom, a history has been subjected to legal scrutiny, particularly a court of competent jurisdiction scrutiny, and the court, after examining the custom, the history, etc., and comes to a conclusion, the decision of the court becomes the law and the custom of the area, and no more the ancient history that we're talking about. Against this background, it's recalled that in 1957, there was a Mamprusi chief escaped by Nahiri, and the Kusasi chief escaped by the Kusasi. So the last colonial governor of the Gold Coast, Lord Listowel, set a committee of inquiry under the chairmanship of the Poko Affairs to investigate the claims of the Kusasi and the Mapuches as to who are, by tradition and custom, the legitimate owners or who should become Bokunaba. The committee, after painstaking investigations and taking into account all the history that both parties have presented, the ancient history, the tradition that both parties have presented, the committee came to the conclusion that, in fact, Boku is a Kusasi land. The Mapuches are there as settlers. They just came to protect the trade route during the Saharan trade, and therefore the Kusasi, who have been the Sentanas and landowners and whatnot, should be recognized as the true rulers of the area. That was a court of competent jurisdiction, and the colonial government issued a white paper. The Mapuches contested this case in the High Court, and the Committee of Inquiry case in the High Court, and we went to the Court of Appeal. And the Court of Appeal, on the 21st of October 1958, came to the conclusion that, in fact, from the evidence so far, the history that stated, the stories and the rest of them, the committee was right in finding that Boku is Kusasi land, and only a Kusasi man can be the Boku Naba. And that was through due process that the Kusasi became chiefs of Boku, and the Boku Naba became Boku Naba and head chief of the whole of Kusasi area.
Okay.
That was 1958. Unfortunately, in 1966, National Liberation Council passed Decree 112, and without assigning any reason, without investigating any matter, arbitrarily and capriciously destituted the Kusasi chiefs, who had become chiefs through due process by virtue of Committee of Inquiry decision and that of the then Court of Appeal, which was the highest court of land at the time. Decree 112 arbitrarily destituted them. The Kusasi have been petitioning until finally, in 1983, during the era of the PND, the Kusasi petitioned again, and the PNDC used their good offices, studied the case from the Committee of Inquiry report, and the Court of Appeal thereof, and passed PNDC Law 75 of 1983, which restored the Kusasi people back to the Court of Appeal decision of 1958. So the Keren Bokunaba, whose father was then the chief, had died. So he was esteemed, the Keren Bokunaba, Zugrana, and Nisham Apurawa Drupa II, was esteemed in 1984. So we have been gazetted at the Traditional Council, Regional House of Chiefs, and National House of Chiefs, and gazetted at the National Assembly. He has been chief since 1984. How many years? 40-something years. So it was wrong for the Nigerians to habitually get up in 2023 without verifying anything to see the rival Mamprisman to go to Kokambi a chief. That has brought about the conflict. And as if that is not enough, in 2003, when President Kufuor was in office, the Mampris went to the Supreme Court, asking the Supreme Court to declare PNDC Law 75 of 1980 null and void, asking the Supreme Court to declare that unless you are a Mampris prince, you cannot be a Bokunaba, and an injunction to restrain the Keren Bokunaba from acting as Bokunaba because he's a Kusasi who not qualified to be Bokunaba. This came before the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court, stating the statement filed by both parties, came to the conclusion that, in fact, the Mampris have no case at all. There must be an litigation. So they have no right to challenge the Bokunaba and the PND Law 75 or under Articles 270 and 277 of the 1992 Constitution. Matter closed. That was 2003. So for Mampris to get up today and talk about history and talk about Nabewa and talk about Adam and Eve and talk about all types of things, it's unnecessary. These matters were canvassed before the Committee of Inquiry. These canvassed were the subject matter became before the Court of Appeal. And the courts have concluded. So we are now talking law, no more history. So as far as our case, the Kusasi case is concerned, it's very, very simple.
Right.
We are law abiding. We believe in the due process of law. We believe in the rule of law. And if our brothers, our very, very good brothers, also respect the rule of law, respect the decisions of the Supreme Court of Ghana, respect the decisions of the Court of Appeal of Ghana, respect the decisions of decrees of Ghana, then there won't be this conflict that we are having around at all.
Okay.
So we are feeling that we are brothers and sisters. We are very close, intermarried, live long with each other for long, and therefore we should coexist. And Boku, that used to be a glorified town. Boku used to be the town that anybody who was in the Upper East region who want to go and live in Boko. It's now a paying shadow of himself. I'm confident that if Otunfo is able to mediate, to let the Nigeria understand that, look, take care of your Mampuko kingdom.
Right.
If the Kusasi in the Upper East region alone, then there will be peace in Boko.
Classes Avoka, hold on for me. I'll come back to you. But let me now bring in Dr. Issa Moro, who is the spokesperson for the Mamprisi delegation. Thank you very much for your time this afternoon. What do you make of the peace deal that took place at the Menchia Palace yesterday? Hello, Dr. Moro, can you hear me? Unfortunately, we lost him just when we were about to connect with him. We're trying to get him back on the line right now, but the story we've been bringing you so far is the peace deal that happened yesterday at the Menchia Palace, which was mediated by Asantehene Otunfo Osei-Tutu II. And I still have Cletus Avoka, who is the spokesperson for the Kusasi delegation there. Cletus, while we still wait for your colleague from the Mamprisi side to reconnect with us, well, I understand that we have Imoro back on the line. Dr. Imoro, thank you. I believe that you can hear me now. I was asking, what do you make of the peace deal that happened at the Menchia Palace yesterday? Do we have Dr. Imoro on the line? Unfortunately, we've lost Dr. Imoro once again. He's a spokesperson for the Mamprisi delegation. Let me bring back Cletus Avoka, who is the spokesperson for the Kusasi delegation, back on the line. Cletus, while we wait for your colleague to join, the indication we're getting from Boko is that people are receiving this news positively. And of course, the hope is that a long-lasting peace will come in the end. That is what we are all hoping for, correct?
In Admansia, before the Otunfo, when the two parties appeared, we were very, very cordial. A few of us who know each other across the board, we were shaking hands and greeting each other. Like one lawyer, Nambe, a Mamprisi young man, he's a very good friend. And there were other or two other lawyers. After that, we came and we embraced each other, we shook hands, and we took pictures together. And we think that that should be the atmosphere. Unfortunately, I am made to understand that even before the delegations came out of Menchia Palace, the Mamprisi supporters who were outside there had poured powder on themselves, and claiming victory, and shouting and jubilating and causing, next, whatnot. I will ask the Mamprisi to prevail on support me. Not yet declared it, and yet they were pouring powder on themselves. This is the practice. So this pouring on yourself is not an secret. We have lost their lives. People have died. People have mind.
Right.
Destroyed. Therefore, there's room for pouring powder on themselves because of victory or whatever. So we are on the two. I know he will put off, try to let them settle, and then let people understand that in this point, you cannot compare and run this test in your head.
Right. Cletus, I understand that we have Dr. Imoro back on the line. I'll come back to you, but let me bring him in at this point. He is the spokesperson for the Mamprisi delegation. Doc, I want you to respond so that I know that I finally have you on the line. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you very much, Kenneth.
Good.
Good afternoon to you and then your cherished listeners.
Good afternoon. Let me pick your thought on the peace deal that happened at the Menchia Palace yesterday.
Yes, so you'd have to give me some time to respond to some of the things Mr. Avoka said.
You have all the time.
Before I respond, I would just want to state that the media, sometimes we need to give out the right information. Because you're asking me of a peace deal that has been agreed to. As far as I am concerned, you would have to ask the mediator, is there any agreement? And it is a mediation process. This is a mediation and not an arbitration. But unfortunately, the media put the news out there that there was going to be a declaration and there was going to be a ruling.
Right.
So people were tense. At least the media should be able to know that in mediation, a mediator's responsibility is to bring both factions to a middle ground and then help them find a solution. So I think we need to correct that information and let people know that it is a mediation.
Right.
And then the declaration that the media published about, or whether there is something that is, people need to be educated. And as for now, in mediation, there's a key principle in mediation. That is why I would like to take an issue with Honorable Kadjebi-Asato, because he's a statesman, he's a member of the Council of State. In mediation, most of the issues you discuss, they are confidential. So after we had our discussions yesterday, can you hear me, Kenneth?
I can hear you, Dr. Imoro, but you said that you want to take issue with Kadjebi-Asato. I would want you to please calm down for me. Kindly don't take issue with him.
That is what I'm going to say.
Okay.
So the important thing is that when we had the discussions, it is supposed to be a bit of confidential.
Right.
And then that is why Otumfo, if you look at his press release, he was very careful in couching. He did not indicate whether there was an agreement that was arrived. He did not indicate whether there was a deadlock. And so most of the issues that Kadjebi-Asato is raising are a rehash of some of the things that were said in the mediation session. If I am also going to rehash them, where do we end? But importantly, once he has brought them, it is necessary I respond to some of them. Kenneth, without history, and if you look at the chieftaincy laws of Ghana, it is tradition and not a court. And that is why in today's Ghana, it is the National House of Chiefs that adjudicates chieftaincy matters, because the law recognizes that it is tradition, and then it doesn't have to do with the regular court system that we have. If it has to go to the Supreme Court, it is only an appellate jurisdiction it has, but not an original jurisdiction. So if you come today and you are saying that talking about tradition is ancient history, and you are comparing it to Adam and Eve history, meanwhile you were before a mediator whose power or whose kingship dates back to the 17th century and then the 15th century. But you are saying it is Adam and Eve story. Nagbewa is Adam. Even yesterday, let me put this important point. You said that how can Nagbewa give birth to 3 tribes? Kadjebi-Asato questioned the issue or the fact that Nagbewa existed. And this is something that, as a statesman, you know very well that the Gumbes, Mamprusis, and Nanumbes and Moshis all say they are descendants of Nagbewa. But Kadjebi-Asato, contested that fact and said one man cannot give birth to these 4 tribes. Meanwhile, today, all mankind say they are descendants of Adam and Eve. You have the white man, you have the black man, you have the Asian, you have the Arab. All of us are descendants of Adam and Eve. So with Kadjebi-Asato say that how can Adam and Eve give birth to the entire of these people? So we need to be very careful and then know what we say. When you are talking about history of Boku, you don't start from 1957. Boku dates back, and all the records show that Boku was founded by the Mamprusis. And yesterday we put all these facts before the mediator. And the first chief of Boku was a Mamprusi, that is Naali. And chieftaincy in Ghana follows a lineage. If you want to be the chief of Boku, you should have to be the descendants of Ali, because he is the first chief of Boku. So you can't run away from history. And you see, he started from 1957. He has missed about 2 important milestones. In 1979, there was a legally gazetted chief of Boku who was a Mamprusi. Kadjebi-Asato was the lawyer of Kadjebi-Asato. Kadjebi-Asato advised Kadjebi-Asato to enskin rival chiefs as chief of Boku. He was a lawyer. He knew there was a gazetted chief of Boku, but he advised his client to enskin chiefs in Boku. But the Mamprusis did not fight. Kenneth, what did the Mamprusis do? We went to the High Court to contest and then restrain them from acting as chiefs.
Right.
Avoka appeared in court. Please give me a minute to explain, because it's important he brought it up. Avoka appeared in court as a counsel to his client who was illegally enskinning chiefs.
Right.
And the High Court restrained his client.
Dr. Imoro, I'm sorry. I'll have
the Mamprusis did not fight. I'll just conclude. It's important.
I want to come in, because these are issues that you've also already mentioned that were discussed.
You should have stopped Mr. Avoka from going on.
Behind closed doors.
With 2. I just need to say 2 important issues you spoke about.
Please land.
So Yes, so the High Court restrained the Kusasis. We didn't fight, Mamprusis didn't fight because Kusasis enslaved the rival chief. We didn't. So why is it that today, if the Nairi performs his customary functions as the overlord of the Mamprugu traditional kingdom, instead of you, because if you say the law backs you, if you can go to court to assert your right, what prevents them from going to court to assert their right? Rather, they are encouraging the youth to take up arms, and that is why we are. It is not the enslaving that is a problem. No, it is rather those who think that they can take up arms to stop the enslaving. When you can go to court and assert your rights like the Mamprusis did in 1979. So it is important that Honorable Curtis Oboka is statesman. We all know that, look, this thing cannot continue forever. And that is why the mediation was selected, because in mediation, both of you come, you leave your comfort zones, and then you look at the future and see how you can map out strategies to solve the problem. If you come with entrenched position and you come to a mediator and you are arguing law, the other party too has a law. The mediator is not a judge. He is there to listen to both of you and then see if you can strike a balance. And it is a mediation is something that is international practice and it is best practice. So if you go into mediation with a mindset that you are backed by a law, it means that you went to the mediation with an entrenched position you were not willing to take. And if the mediation fails, or if there's a deadlock, it means that you are the reason why there's a deadlock. So in summary, I just want to say that, look, look, he's talking about the legal cases. We have the National House of Chiefs ruling in 1983, but he didn't mention it. He was taken and then choosing. The High Court ruling, he didn't mention. You see, and he's talking about 1957. Between 1957 and then 1983, which one is more recent?
Dr. Issa Moro.
I would want us to limit ourselves to the mediation.
Yes,
and
indeed.
We can go. If they say they don't want this, that is up to them.
Yes.
They should go to court and assert their right.
With the greatest of respect, I've given you enough time to rebut him, Dr. Issa Moro. Thank you very much. That's the spokesperson for the Mamprusi delegation. And earlier we heard Cletus Avoka, who is the spokesperson for the Kusasi delegation. And we are joy news. We are not taking sides in this issue. All that we want is peace. We want the mediation efforts to go on, because when Boko is at peace, the whole country will benefit from it. And it's a good time to bring in a former Minister of Chieftaincy Affairs. That's Stephen Asamoah Boateng. Grateful for your time this afternoon. You were the Chieftaincy Minister under Akufo-Addo, and you have a deep understanding of this matter. What do you make of the journey to resolve the Boko conflict so far, the mediation efforts that are currently ongoing, especially what took place at the Menchia Palace just yesterday?
And it's been an interesting news coming from Menchia. First of all, as you rightly said, I had been involved when I became the Minister for Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs from 2023. Boko was my priority. Indeed, I went to Boko. I went to Nairi in Darlegu, I think the fourth day when I was sworn in. The following week, I was in Boko to see the Kusasi side as well. So I've been involved. And interestingly, the matter didn't start now. And I'm grateful for the intervention of Otumfuo Osei-Chu II, Asantehene, and whom we, in my time and President Akufo-Addo, we discussed it at Cabinet. And it was President Akufo-Addo who also directed that I work with Otumfuo and the National House of Chiefs on that matter. And so Otumfuo was formally informed. I was at Menchia myself and formally told that the Cabinet has decided it takes the central role to help us resolve it. So I'm grateful. Otumfuo has done well so far. It's a mediation effort. And as we have learned, it is not the forum for us to come and state our case on air.
Exactly.
I have been quiet of late because it's not within my remit. It's now with Otumfuo. So we thank him very much. I also thank the President, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, that good work done by his predecessor, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, through myself, has been carried on. And he's also re-emphasized the fact that chieftaincy institutions must be dealt with by themselves. And so that is number one. And let me also thank His Royal Majesty Buhu Mahame Abdullahi Sheriga, the Nairi and the overlord of the Mamprugu Kingdom. And then I also thank Bokunaba Zugra Nasegri, Abugrago Azoka II. They've been my fathers, I call them. And I've always given them that respect, that they are brothers, they should talk. So for me, it's good that this has happened. And it didn't happen yesterday. As I said, it's coming from some years back. But it's good news, but it's not a peace deal yet.
Yes.
And that we must take note of that. And exactly. I think your two contributors have told you. I know both of them. I know Kletus and my brother. This is not a forum for them to rehash the things that were said in Malaysia quietly. This is to encourage our people that peace is on the way, which is good news. So far, the news I'm picking from Boko itself is calm. Everybody is anxious, but they are calm. And as Otumfo's release yesterday said, it's a process. So it started from somewhere, it has to end somewhere. And he's going to report back to the president, who has given him a renewed responsibility to finish it. So I think we should all hold our tails for a while and call for calm, call for end of conflict, which is, they are all brothers. They are brothers. They live together. They've lived together before. And I think they can do it. As Avoka Kletu said, for the first time, they met face to face yesterday. Indeed, I said, if you go back to what I said earlier when I became Minister for Chieftaincy, I said it's a process. At one stage, the two sides must come together because you cannot mediate when they are separate. Are you with me?
I am.
When you are together, in Akan, we say something like Enumuyedru, or people have a spirit that connects. So once you meet, you might be the most intransigent, but once you meet even your difficult adversary, you tend to mellow down a little bit. And this is what I am happy about, that at the end of the day, we have all calmed down. And if you listen to your two contributors today, when they met yesterday, it was cordial, wasn't it? It was cordial. They shook hands and they stated their case. That remains quiet behind the scenes. And I'm looking forward to the process moving to the presidency in the next couple of weeks so that we can bring this to a conclusion. And they live together peaceful as brothers and sisters.
Minister, what approach should government use right now going forward to ensure that finally a peace deal is brokered?
First of all, government must find resources. These things are not conducted in vacuum. Otumfo's mediation requires the resources of government to be provided. They should also work behind the scenes. Not only, I realized that I couldn't do it by myself, and me and the cabinet of President Akufo-Addo realized it, that politicians, sometimes people don't believe we can resolve these matters.
Right.
Because there's a tone, a political tone, which if you are not careful, you go deeper, they will tell you all sorts of MPP matter, and NDC matter, or CPP matter, or UP matter. So we can never end it by ourselves. So what we do as politicians is to go behind the scenes and talk. And I keep on talking. To be frank with you, I call both sides. I call them. I will call my brothers in the Mamprisi area. Even though I'm not in government, I'll call my brothers in the Kusasi area.
Right.
And I think that is calming them down. That we are keeping an eye. And we're all interested in peace in Boko.
We are not, time is not on our side. I mean, we all want peace right now. If the peace deal eventually gets concluded and gets to the presidency, what do you think the first gentleman of the land should do?
I think what he has to do when the deal is almost done, it must come with a package of compensation in a way. There's a lot of bitterness on both sides.
Okay.
We must find a way to create a conducive atmosphere by some form of compensation. Two, there must be a development agenda for Boko and the whole area. Because you see, Boko was a thriving city. It connects the northern part of Togo. Yes. It connects Burkina Faso. And so the trade that goes on Boko, you have no idea. So the market in Boko must be brought back. And that means that there must be a development agenda to to make economic growth a central pillar of the peace. Because you can ask them to talk, and they go there, there's no job to do, there's idle hands. The idle hands will find something to do. The young men are there, they have nothing to do. What do you expect them to do? So we must occupy them. If it's agric, it's a trade, whatever, it is some funding for them to start their own businesses. So there must be a key component of development and growth agenda. So apart from compensation, which I said there are bitterness on both sides, it will calm them down. It will show that government cares. And that's what I recommend the president to do. Conflict always calls for some compensation and also some development, key agenda, takes their mind away from conflict and fight.
And going forward, what would be your message to the good people of Boko?
I thank them so much. I'm happy. I mean, you know my character. I always bring people together. I'm not the person who fights anybody, not even my political opponents. I've got brothers there, I've got sisters there. And the same thing, everywhere I go. If you know my own background, my mom's house is Denchira. We have Bunu in us, we have an Ever in us, we have Ghana in us. And my father's side Ashanti, and I married Kusasi. So you should understand me. I'm an all-rounder. And for me, I'm happy. Boko should be peaceful, and Boko should be thriving. We all will go there and do some trading and come back. So I'm happy the northern part of the country, the northeast part, is coming to realize that you are brothers. And if you go into the details, some are married to the Kusasis and Mampusis and Mushi. And why should brothers be fighting? It's because the people fund it. And when people fund it, it becomes the case. And the young people have no job to do, then they get idle hands to utilize. So development, Boku must be central. It must be part of the central budget of the local government minister and the chieftaincy minister. We should beef up his budget so that there can be development.
Right. Stephen Asamoah Boateng, thank you very much. He's a former minister for chieftaincy and religious affairs. Let's bring in a security expert, Dr. Victor Doke, for more on this. Grateful for your time this afternoon. What do you make of this peace efforts in Boko? Or how different is this from the many failed attempts in the past?
Of the Otunfo's mediation process is that, one, in a case such as this, you need a very experienced mediator. You need someone who knows the historical antecedents of this conflict itself and knows the two actors. You need someone who is respected, who stands neutral, who can face anyone and then command authority when it comes to the actors and stakeholders. So I think this is the right direction. The process has come to an end. The two parties are waiting to hear and then get to know the outcome of the report first off. That will get to the president. And then, most importantly, they have assured the king of their support and then their collaboration with regards to the outcome of the report. Now, in a mediation situation such as this, you would expect to have a win-win situation. But this conflict has a different dynamics altogether. So you would expect a win-win. That is what I think people should be wary of. It is only going to be a win-lose in this situation. So whoever is at the losing side should accept the verdict and then channel their grievances according to the law. In the past, processes such as these were not considered. We talked about the Yende conflict, where we have the families fighting for the king. It was the Otunfo who came in, and then mediators in the matter, and we have peace in there. Now, this is a different, conflict altogether involving two different groups, and that makes it so different, and the dynamics keep changing every time. So I think we need to look at how fast, quickly the report will get to the president for the president to, as soon as possible, in line with the mandate of bringing peace, assemble the necessary stakeholders, which will include the two parties themselves, every major stakeholder for a multilateral engagement, and then the recommendations, the proposals of the king will be considered and then played out according to the law. Neutrality is very key, and partisan politics should be taken out of the implementation of the recommendation of the report.
Do you see any hurdles that could mar this process if care is not taken?
The only hurdle I see, when an outcome does not favor one of the sides, they may not accept it as first, but I think if the president, in meeting the two sides, and the process is expanded where the two sides will now sign a peace agreement to accept the outcome, then we can be assured that we'll have come. If that is not done, assurances are not given, then one side will definitely be feeling aggrieved, and anything can happen. We don't want that. We want to bring finality. But the only hurdle I see is when an outcome doesn't go in favor. But that is not something that cannot be done. That is why the stakeholders that are going to implement the recommendations need to be very apt and ensure they do it to the letter, according to what the king has said.
Of course, these mediation efforts are in its early stages. What do you think all parties should do to ensure that it becomes a success?
Cooperation and collaboration. Now, they need to understand that no matter what, we have laws in the country. If you are not happy with any situation or outcome, you have the law courts, you have institutions that you can write to or take your grievances to. Taking up arms or encouraging the youth to engage isn't the right way. However, there are passions that inflame every now and then. We saw how the youth were, having disagreements outside just where the protest was being concluded, just because one person hit the other with a vehicle. And then that tells you that in this situation, anything bordering on politics, on disagreements can cause anger and then lead to clashes. We need to be very careful in this regard.
Right. And going forward, what should government's approach be in moving this peace agreement to a possible good resolution?
As soon as possible. Well, I think now we're in December festive season, and I don't think the president will have any opportunity to meet these two sides, only to probably make a statement to appeal to them to sustain the peace, and then we celebrate the festive seasons. After that, we look at the substantive matters and what the core issues are. But I think when it gets there, resources is very key. Honorable Asomabati mentioned, if you don't have resources to empower the stakeholders, to empower National Peace Council, to empower the civil society organizations who are on the ground there, we need peace building facilitators. And we can talk about the Linguistic Development Agency in there, who is a peace building facilitator for the inter-ethnic committee itself, for them now to go on the ground and sensitize the youth on peace building, on how to channel their grievances, and then do away with the proliferation of small arms and then the violence. We need that essentially. Training, capacity building for the military, the security services who are there engaging with these factions. Professionalism has to be key. Partisan politics should be devoted, put aside when it gets there. And I think the president should follow and implement the report to the latter. And that itself is how we're going to see lasting peace and know that this conflict will be declared over. But cooperation from the two sides is very essential in that after the peace agreement, after all that is said and done, they should understand that for the sake of peace, whether the outcome favors me or not, we'll just go by what the Otumfuo has said and the president has said.
And moving forward, do you think Otumfuo Setutu is still going to play any critical role in these mediation efforts beyond this one?
Yes, because of the sustained engagement. I don't think he would end it there. He would keep the two sides, engaging them, because they would definitely come back to him if they have issues or they are not happy with A, B, or C.
Right.
So it is very essential that he opens his door to this side anytime they call on him. And I'm sure with his wisdom, he would be available to provide, the necessary solutions for their problems. So it is very necessary. He will engage. And then not him alone, probably. If he's not, then this is the time we need to set up experts or mediators also there to support this process. So it's a sustained engagement. It is not one-off.
Right. Dr. Victor Dokia, thank you very much. He's a security analyst. You're still watching the polls here on Joy News. Still to come, government pledges to create a more supportive environment for doctors as new Ghana Health Service data reveals that 7 out of 10 posted medical officers have not reported to their assigned regions. That's what's coming up after the break.
To the medical officers, we are posting here at the moment not to see this policy as punishment, but as an attempt for equitable distribution of the workforce we have in this country.
You're welcome back to the polls. Now, new data from the Ghana Health Service has revealed a shocking nationwide turnout gap, with 7 out of 10 newly posted medical officers failing to report to the assigned regions. The report, dated the 28th of November 2025, shows that out of 463 medical officers allocated across the 16 regions, only 158 have reported, representing just 34% of expected postings. Health Minister Kwabena Mintah-Kando, speaking during government's accountability series, said this.
With respect to the workforce development, out of the 34 billion Ghana cedis, some 16.7 billion has been allocated as compensation. And so we'll continue to pay the 13,500 nurses we put on the payroll this year alone. We are distributing not less than 700 medical doctors across the length and breadth of this country. And His Excellency the President has directed that we send these medical doctors to where they are needed most, especially the districts. I'm sorry to say that we have more than almost 50% of the medical doctors we have in this country in the Greater Accra. And therefore, let me take this opportunity to appeal to the medical officers we are posting here at the moment not to see this policy as punishment, but as an attempt for equitable distribution of the workforce we have in this country. And of course, government will also be seeking to create that congenial atmosphere for you to deliver your work. That notwithstanding, we have paid some 500 million Ghana cedis for the nursing trainee allowance, and first week in December, we are going to pay 231 million Ghana cedis again. So we are not piling up arrears. We are paying promptly the nursing trainee allowances.
We have Rafiq Salam from the Upper West region, where we have a very low turnout of medical officers reporting to their stations since they were posted. Rafiq, thank you for your time this afternoon. Is the picture any different in the Upper West region? Hello, Rafiq. Unfortunately, we've lost Rafiq Salam there, but the picture, as I mentioned earlier, is very bleak. In about 3 regions, we have 0% reporting to their posts since they were posted to those regions. And you have a region like the Greater Accra region with the highest percentage of persons reporting. About 80% of individuals posted to the various health centers in the Greater Accra region have reported. In the Ashanti region, we have about 72 or 76% of persons reporting for work there. They are the 2 highest regions with the highest percentage of medical officers reporting to work. And we'll bring you more on that later and try to connect with Rafiq Salam in the Upper West region there, where we understand that the rate is very low. Rafiq, I understand I have you back on the line. Paint a picture in the Upper West region. Are medical officers reporting to work, those that have newly been posted?
As I report to you now, Kenneth, that the Upper West region was allocated.
Hello, Rafiq.
To come to the region to work.
Rafiq, sorry, we lost you along the line. Can you kindly repeat yourself?
I am saying that the Upper West region was allocated 32 slots. Are you hearing me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, 32 slots. Upper West region was allocated 32 slots. Out of this number, 30 of them accepted the posting to come to the Upper West region. And then out of this number, 25 of them, as we speak now, have not reported. But the information that we also gleaned on also indicated that 5 of them are also pursuing some special course at Conformity Teaching Hospital and other areas. And so that is what is happening in the region. And so the people of the region are not really happy about the medical doctors that have refused postings to the region. Because when you look at the Upper West region, we are talking about a region with a population of a little over 900,000. That's what is really happening. But out of this number, they've gotten about 82 doctors in this region. Only 82 doctors are in this region. But as you speak now, out of these 82 doctors, majority of them are at the regional Upper West Regional Hospital. And then also a greater number of them are also doing some specialty courses. So in all, we have only 55 active medical doctors in the region taking care of over 900,000 people. And so the picture in the Upper West region is not the best. And the medical director and also the people, residents in the region are not really happy about the way things pan out.
And how is that impacting healthcare service in the Upper West region, Rafiq?
This is a young region, at least though we are also older than some regions. But I can tell you that, the World Health Organization ratio for doctors has to deal with 1 doctor to 1,000 people. As we speak now, the Upper West region ratio is higher because I'm talking about 8.
Unfortunately,
2 doctors in the region taking care of over some districts in the region. They don't have a single medical doctor. They don't have a single medical doctor in those facilities. And so...
Hello, Rafiq.
It's going to have a lot of a negative impact on... Hello?
I can hear you, Rafiq.
Okay, so that's the situation. So the situation is going to have a negative impact in the region.
Right. Rafiq Salam there from Wa in the Upper West region. Thank you very much. Rafiq is reporting that the situation there is very bleak. But in neighboring Upper East region, we understand that not a single doctor has reported to post, at least per what the health minister told us yesterday, has yet to report to post. Not a single one of them. Well, let's still stay on health because health authorities in the Ashanti region are worried over the failure of people suspected to be living with HIV to seek treatment. Though the UNAIDS is projecting 63,159 people could be living with HIV in the Ashanti region, only about 33,000, representing 52%, know their status and are on treatment, with a whopping 29,960 nowhere to be found. Ashanti Regional Director of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Fred Adomako-Boateng, observes the gap is a significant public health risk to all. Ohimi Teria reports from the region.
Ashanti region saw an improvement in persons living with HIV on treatment from 25,891 in 2024 to 33,199 in 2025. This represents a 28.2% increase over the period. The region also saw 6,293 new clients on treatment as compared to 5,201 over the same period last year. Ashanti Regional Director of the Ghana Health Services, Dr. Fred Adomako-Boateng, who attributes the gains to the dedication of healthcare workers and stakeholders, say there is more work to be done, describing it as a public health risk. He is worried that a whopping 29,960 of the estimated HIV population in the region either do not know their HIV status or are not on medication. Dr. Adomako-Boateng insists the only way to correct the gap is through improved testing, an increase in awareness, and making prevention services easily accessible.
We have recorded meaningful gains. As of November 2025, our clients on treatment, which we call COT, stands at 32,199 an increase from 25,891 in December 2024. And this represents a 28.2% rise. We also enrolled 6,293 new clients into treatment, compared to 5,201 in the same period last year. However, we must confront the reality. Out of the estimated HIV population of 63,159 in Ashanti region that are supposed to be on treatment, we have only 33,199 on treatment, representing 52.9% of those who are supposed to be on treatment. Approximately 29,960 individuals either do not know their status or are not on medication. And this gap poses a significant public health risk.
Percy Kuranche, who has been living with HIV for the past 35 years, told a World AIDS Day commemoration event that stigma, especially in the media, is still high. He wants Ghanaians to freely test, to know their status, to protect lives.
Living with HIV for almost 35 years now, and I'm on medication. So I advise all my people who have been tested positive to go for their drugs, take their medication well, and they will live strong as I am. And the people who have not yet tested should also go and test and know their status so that they can also stand firm and then continue with their medication.
Meanwhile, Dr. Kadjebi-Asato wants the youth to take advantage of PrEP, a safe daily medication that reduces the chance of getting HIV by more than 90%. From Kumasi, for Joy News, Ohime Teria reporting.
Meanwhile, the Ghana AIDS Commission, or Ghana, marks World AIDS Day 2025 under the shadow of rising HIV cases, with 334,721 people now living with the virus. That is 68% of them being women. New infections remain worryingly high at an average of 42 a day, and gaps in testing and treatment persist, underscoring the urgent need for stronger prevention and care. Addressing a press conference earlier, Dr. Emmanuel Tevio, who is the programs manager of the National AIDS STI Control Program, stressed that Ghana must significantly step up public education to curb the spread.
34,721 people are living with HIV in Ghana. Out of this, 229,261 are female and 105,460 male. Now, 15,290 new infections were recorded in 2024, and 12,614 AIDS-related deaths in 2024 as well. Now, we have 42 new infections which occur every single day. That's a translation of this. And 67% of the new infections are among females, and children constitute 5.4% of people living with HIV/AIDS, which translates into 18,229 infections for children. Now, Ghana has what we call the generalized epidemic, with a prevalence of 1.49%. Now, these numbers represent our mothers, fathers, daughters, sisters, brothers, and friends. They highlight the urgent need for collective action in the national response in the fight against HIV/AIDS. Ghana's current performance on the UNAIDS 95-95-95 targets reveals significant gaps. Currently, we stand at 68, 69, and 90. So what that means is that only 68% of people living with HIV know their status, and the target is supposed to be 95%. And 69% of those diagnosed are on antiretroviral therapy. The target there too should be 95%. And 90% of those on ART, that's antiretroviral therapy, have achieved viral suppression. And that one to the target should be 95%. Now let's examine some critical challenges. Now, one, women represent 68%, about 68.5% of people living with HIV, highlighting urgent need for women-centered prevention and care. So there is a feminization crisis in that respect. Now, the youth are also vulnerable. Young people remain disproportionately affected, with many unaware of their status. The first 295s, which are our greatest challenges, lie in testing and treatment initiation, and not treatment effectiveness.
Well, let's get some fresh perspective on this situation. And joining me on Zoom right now is the Programs Manager of the National AIDS STI Control Programs, Dr. Emmanuel Tevio. Thank you for your time this evening. Of course, the issue about funding has become very critical, especially when the U.S. cut funding for HIV through the USAID and others. How really is this affecting the treatment of HIV in Ghana? Hello, Dr. Tevio, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I was asking about the preventive measures and, how to curb HIV. We know that it has been truncated by the cutting of aid to, help curb the situation. And really, how has that affected the HIV preventive measures that you want to put in place?
Yes, thank you very much. And good afternoon, good evening to our precious listeners. Yes, I think that the funding landscape generally has changed globally. And of course, it has been challenging for HIV response everywhere. In Ghana is not an exception. However, we at the national program have had some commitment from government to fill in the gap and also to make sure that we continue to render these life-saving services to our people. And so though we have had challenges, I think that government has done very well. They have been able to provide us with the commodities that we need to test. They've been able to support in procuring antiretroviral therapy drugs for people living with HIV. And there are even discussions on how to start using new tools, which are also for prevention, like the long-acting lenacapavir, which is now the new kid on the block to help us improve on our prevention aspect of the response. So I think that it's not too bad. I think it's challenging, but it's not too bad. We still have some support from government and also from Global Fund, who were also affected by the funding cuts, but they have done some reprioritization, and that is helping us to be able to meet the needs of our response. And how accessible are these preventive drugs you mentioned? Yeah, so already we have in place these preventive drugs. We call them PrEP. And of course, for now, what we are doing is that is for some targeted high-risk groups in our communities who need them really. Not everybody needs them. So we have a way of assessing people who need them, and then we are able to give it to them. So they are accessible at our facilities where do the assessment and we can lay them to care. And who are these groups that need them critically? So we usually have the vulnerable population, the key population. Then we also have, sometimes you can have a couple in which one of them is positive and the other one is negative. Right.
But I mean, you can give them this medication so that it will continue to protect the one who is negative to remain negative. Also.
Hello, Dr. Tevio.
We also from such
over 300,000 persons living with HIV in Ghana. That's about 1% of our population. Really, usually the concern is that people are even shy to go to
at least when
the hospitals to ensure that they get treatment or they get tested for HIV. Are there any measures in place to make HIV testing accessible to people rather than walk into the hospital? Unfortunately, we've lost Dr. Emmanuel.
Yes, I lost you a bit on that question.
Yes, I was saying that a lot of people are even shy to go to health centers to get tested.
That's correct.
For HIV, yes. And this could mean that there are more people who have HIV and are not even aware. Going forward, are there any measures to make HIV testing more accessible to people rather than going to health facilities where people shy away from going?
That's correct. You are spot on. And one of the reasons is because of the stigma and discrimination that is pervasive in the country. And that is preventing people from, coming. So now we have what we call the HIV self-test kits. This is currently in the country, and we are running it with one of our civil society organizations called Garnet, where you can sit in the comfort of your room and test yourself to check whether you have HIV/AIDS. And when you are positive, there is a contact number that you can call, and then you will get support and be linked to care, and your confidentiality is assured and all that. So this is something that we are pursuing very aggressively. And the coming years, we are going to make sure that this is scaled up to the whole country to make sure that it's available for everybody to be able to use.
So as we speak now, the limited ones that are in the country, how do people assess them? Are they for sale? Which points can they get them?
So they are not for sale. They are available, as I said. Garnet is we are partnering with Garnet to implement it at the community level. So you have it at the, over the country, all over the country at the district, community level and all that. The officers are there and they access there. And sometimes when we have activities, we do share these test kits to the general population. It's available everywhere and it's for free. It's not for sale, it's for free as a program. We have it for free and it's available.
The funding for HIV prevention, as you mentioned earlier, has really changed, not only in Ghana, around the globe. Are you looking at other sources of funding to help, cure HIV or not cure HIV, prevent HIV and suppress the virus from spreading?
There are so many ways of funding it. As I told you, government has made a commitment, so we are also looking at domestic funding avenues. We are excited that government has uncapped the National Health Insurance scheme, and so it has made more funding available. And there are discussions that there's a possibility that this can also be made available for people with HIV/AIDS to be able to take care of some of their needs at the facility level. And then also we continue to engage, other partners who are also willing to partner with us, and even looking at internally, people's social responsibility by companies, these extractive companies and all that. These are all have been to get this funding support.
Right. Dr. Emmanuel Tevio, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Well, let's bring in more stories because the Minister for Gender and Social Protection, Agnes Momolate, says government is implementing measures to curb HIV transmission from pregnant women to their babies amid rising HIV/AIDS prevalence in the country. Speaking at the launch of the Civil Society Strengthening Program Strategy in Accra, she noted that government is particularly focused on supporting pregnant women living with HIV/AIDS. Edna Garima's report, read to you.
About 1.3 million women and girls with HIV become pregnant each year, with a 15 to 45% risk of mother-to-child transmission without intervention. A study in Ghana shows MTCT is the second leading mode of HIV transmission, accounting for nearly all cases in children under 15. Speaking at the launch in Accra, the Minister of Gender, Children and Social Protection, Agnes Na Momolate, underscored the government's resolve to invest in efforts that reduce HIV transmission among pregnant women and their babies.
We are looking at reducing mother-to-child transmission, which we have chalked some successes. We still have a long way to go. If for anything at all, we know that once somebody contracts it, it's not a death sentence. There is hope. But we don't want mothers to transmit to the children.
She also stated the government's commitment to support an effort to shift power locally.
So this is just reaffirming that our partnership is so significant going forward, especially if you want to shift power, where you want to move it from the central to the local level, so that local actors can own the impact of every intervention. They are not only beneficiaries.
On her part, head of programs at Star Ghana Foundation, Eunice Agbe-Nyaji, provided further insight into the importance of shifting power.
Shifting power and decision-making and control from funders and institutions who are based in Global North to civil society and communities. And this is to ensure that development priorities are set by communities, because they live challenges, and they are best placed to determine how those development agendas, development collaboration should be done.
The Shifting the Power program is an 8-year initiative led by Star Ghana Foundation, the West Africa Civil Society Institute, and Tillytones Foundation, with support from Comic Relief and the Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office. Edna Garima's report, read to you.
And the Ghana Federation of Disability Organizations is calling for stronger laws to protect persons with disabilities, saying current legislation has not kept pace with global standards. They warn that barriers to education, healthcare, employment and public facilities continue to persist. Rodalyn Abensa reports.
At a press conference in Accra, National Gender Representative Mata Kofi called for urgent reenactment to the Persons with Disability Act 2006, saying the nearly 2-decade-old law is outdated and fails to protect the rights of persons living with disability.
To take immediate action towards the reenactment and passage of the revised Persons with Disability Act 206, Act 715. Legislative action on the renewed revised act has been slow, leaving millions of Ghanaians with disabilities without an updated legal framework that reflects their rights, dignity, and aspirations.
The Federation insists revising the act is crucial to ensure equal opportunities, stronger protection, and compliance with international standards.
We want a strengthened Disability Act that will modernize Ghana legal framework, ensure clearer institutional responsibilities, improve access to education, employment, healthcare, transport, and justice. And what we are saying is that the time to act is now. Ghana must not delay any further.
Rodalyn Abensa's report, read to you.
Now, for many mechanics at Swami Magazine, the sound of engines has been their life for years. But a new kind of engine, silent, electric, and powered by technology, is slowly taking over the global automobile industry. The German embassy, joining its climate talks held in Kumasi, explores efforts underway to support the artisans in this transition. There's more in the following report filed by Karen Obin.
Every day, thousands of artisans, mechanics, welders and engineers bring vehicles back to life with skill and through years of hands-on mastery. With fears, hopes and dreams for the future, these artisans say they want to learn and adapt.
the problem facing the artisans in Swami Magazine has been apprenticeship or leaving the workshop to be for orientation or any training as well, has been a source of funding, in a sense that being apprenticeship in Mazi is a problem. You will not have money in pocket, but you only have to struggle, get the money before maybe you can even get your TNT to your home or to any destination that you want to go. So my suggestion now is that we are just pleading, if in case any NGOs, those who want to help, will assist the apprentices in Mazi as they do in secondary schools and staffs. That will help them also that will motivate them a lot for them also to learn new things which is coming in the system.
The Swami Magazine Industrial Organization says it is committed to mobilizing artisans and training them in electric vehicle technology.
Our members who came have all agreed that we really have to upgrade ourselves in terms of this new technology. So we are going to embrace it. So it's something that we are not going to leave it. We are going to pursue it. And from here, I think we will mobilize most of them and give them a lot of education about EV and EV technologies.
The German ambassador says electric mobility is not only about climate change, but also health, security, and business.
We have with the artisans working at Swami Magazine, listening to the students from KNUST and from KTU, what you have achieved already, and you are the future. You are the future building a cleaner, a greener future. And what we learned as well is that talking about the transition is not only about talking about climate, it's also about talking about health, it's talking about security, that our children can cross the streets secure without having the fear to being hit by a car or something else, or being hit within an accident. And it's about business, because it's something you can earn. And in Germany we have a saying that is, even the longest march has to start with the first step.
If Ghana is to achieve a modern, sustainable transportation system, artisans at Swami Magazine have demonstrated the willingness and readiness to be at the center of it. From Old Tafo in Kumasi, Karen Obey's report, read to you.
And it's a wrap for the Pulse today. Thank you very much for being a part of the show. My name is Kenneth Jesse. But for more news, you can log on to myjoyonline.com. And as you can see, our top story this hour is that fire razes Kadjebi-Asato boys' dormitory. Several students recover after passing out. Thank you very much for being a part of the show this evening. See you tomorrow.